Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of November the 18th till 24th, 2024. This is again one of those weeks where the big picture, where the most important, I would dare to say, karmic theme in our lives or dharmic theme in our lives is gonna be seeking attention, our awareness, our emotions, our minds even. However, this doesn't necessarily eclipse all the technicalities and all the details that might be happening simultaneously, because we must not forget that this just comes a few days after a very, very intense full moon. And I'm speaking about the 15th of November, when we had a full moon conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So that is shocking, awakening, energizing, maybe sometimes a bit anxious anyway. So we are energized already. And also at the same day, and I'm speaking about the 15th of November, Saturn just barely stood still in the sky and prepared to go direct. This week, Saturn is not going to move all that much, so it will still impose its dominance, so to speak. When Saturn is the planet which does this motion, transits from retrograde to direct, when it stands still in the sky, this is what we feel so intensely in so very many ways. On one hand, Saturn is a rather earthly, physical, real planet, so we feel it literally deep within our bones. Sorry. I know I did. My back went. And I know that many of my friends did have physical, something they happened to them physical around the date and time when Saturn stood still. But as I said, this week is still an opening. This week is still very much that, because Saturn is not going to move all that much. So, yes, the Saturnian elements in our lives are being very, very highlighted. We feel aches, pains in our bones, especially back pain, the cross that we bear, Saturn, right? Symbolically speaking. All the material issues, and by this I don't necessarily mean just problems, but projects, responsibility, a decision that you how should I say, are also responsible for. You take responsibility what you decide. And because other energies are going to activate the South Node in Libra, that's legal. Okay, collectively diplomatic and everything that's going on out there, the UN assemblies and talks, and but individually speaking, this can represent contracts. What do I do? What do I decide? What do I sign? Do I break the contract? For example, quitting the job or changes in the company. Do I accept or not? And that's very much, it has a Saturnian side, because Saturn is the responsibility that will follow after any kind of legal or binding, in any way morally or legally binding decision, choice, one-on-one alliance. And on the other hand, of course, we feel it karmically, because this is when fate stirs certain things up, things that we need to become aware of here, be prepared for the past being many times evoked. In a sense, many times in life, divine protection, Pisces, right? The sign of Pi, the 12th house domain, comes with first what you've learned in the past, the big lesson, is reminded of, and then comes why you were reminded, why you need to apply it. So this week can be very much that type of situation. And on the other hand, something even bigger, if I'm allowed to describe it like that, that takes place also this week. Pluto technically, mathematically entering into the sign of Aquarius. Now, of course, this is a very special moment because this is the last time Pluto says bye-bye to Capricorn for the next 200 plus years. So in our lifetimes, this is a big deal. But on the other hand, we will still partially feel the Pluto and Capricorn effect simultaneously with the Pluto and Aquarius effect, because it does need Pluto does need at least a degree to truly install its full effect into Aquarius. So this week, even though technically Pluto is changing signs, which is a big deal, and without a shadow of a doubt, Aquarius is a very quick, instant energy. It might instantly push all the buttons that activate the Aquarian themes in our lives that have been, let's say, a bit dormant when Pluto exited, retrograded out of Aquarius, and now it's back on track. So this is how a certain train of thoughts are already back on track. But at the same time, the Capricornian intensity is not significantly uh, diminishing. It's still very much the Tower moment, and we know it, we live it, we see it. It's everywhere. The fact that it's everywhere is also due to the fact that Mercury, well, this week it is just getting into position. This week it's just going to the 22nd degree of Sagittarius, where the week that follows will start its retrograde. So it's very much highlighting. Sorry. It is really shining a laser pointer at the themes that it's gonna be working on under this upcoming Mercury retrograde season. And again, that will be the 20, just a second, let me find my notes here. That will be the 26th of November since until 16th of December. But realistically speaking, Mercury will only come back to this 22nd degree of Aquarius at the very beginning of January next year. So Mercury is locked into its themes that it has to complete, finish, do until that period of time. So it's already ongoing. And those themes might become, as it starts reaching 22nd degree of Sagittarius, they might become more and more evident. Anything around contracts, anything, when I say contracts, right now it's not the Libra one-on-one contracts, but those that have a very strong legal ramification. For example, contracts that you're disputing in courts of justice, agreements, promises, anything that is going on in courts of justice has a legal side to it, or is something totally jurisprudential, if that word is, I said it correctly. International law, big time highlighted. And this is the moment, actually, especially if you live in the United States and you're a foreigner, Mercury, you have to consider certain things seriously. What do I do next? What's the plan next? Because chances are I'm not in Kansas anymore, right? Making plans. And Mercury in such international stuff, affairs, communication, but even the law. The law has to be communicated, and acknowledged, first of all, right? So that, how does that change the situation? Travels, back and forth with travels, but at the same time, anything that's across the borders, even Mercury love stories, because there's a communication part of that. Studies, very much Sagittarian. Even work abroad, communication side to it. The negotiation side to it, very much Mercury. But you get what I mean. So these themes are starting to get laser focused this week. And of course, wherever, besides the typical expression of Sagittarius, wherever this 22 to 6 degree of Sagittarius falls into your chart. So 6 degree to 22 degree of Sagittarius, better said. So Mercury basically slowing down as well will color this week energetically very, very much. But at the very beginning, speaking about Mercury, it opposes Jupiter, so again. But this opposition is actually quite an interesting one because they are in mutual reception. Mercury is in Jupiter's sign, Jupiter is in Mercury's sign. So, okay, this does not necessarily make the opposition all that much easier. Actually, it can make it even more intense. However, what will come out of this will be that much more significant and Jupiter truthful, honest, or equitable, depending on the perspective, of course. Let's not absolutize here. But in Gemini, which has to be also practical. And Mercury, on the other hand, in Jupiter's sign of Sagittarius, it has to respect your worldview. But Mercury retrograde, this will represent a big, big chunk of update to your worldview. So this is why this opposition important. What is your worldview right now? And you will ask yourself once again this question at the end of this retrograde, when Mercury at one point will retake this opposition with Jupiter in different ways, but that will be what is my updated worldview and how does that change the situation. So it's very, very important because the world is going to be changing before our very eyes. Of course, what we think of it and how we perceive it philosophically, yes, but that's still a big transformation. And speaking about transformation, yes, Pluto, at the beginning of the week, it is just at the very, very end minute, 59 minutes of Capricorn. So it's really plunging into Aquarius. We feel that we might see that on the world stage. Leaders, big moves happening, tactically speaking, big moves happening politically, economically. Pluto is big money, fossil fuel. We already heard that Russia closed the pipes to Austria. Stuff like that is happening as we speak. So this is without a doubt big financial energy as well. And at the very beginning of the week, before Pluto is technically still not in Aquarius, Venus, the finance planet, right, is co-inhabitant of Capricorn along with Pluto. So very much under effect of energetic Pluto. Venus is big money in Capricorn. Pluto is big money in itself, power, money, rich and famous. So we will see these themes highlighted on the world stage, but also in our personal lives. Compromise, right? Mercury opposing Jupiter. I need to make a compromise or big decision in my life. This Venus and Pluto in Capricorn are gonna dish to the table what I really feel, my value system, what's available, and how am I gonna change things around. Pluto moving into Aquarius. Venus, speaking about Venus, well, at the beginning of the week, she still holds a T-square with the nodes of the moon, but fortunately that T-square is not all that powerful, and it will wane more as Venus moves further into the sign of Capricorn. But the T-square is very relevant to the energy. What is worth it? What is not? What type of alliances, partnerships, decisions, Libra, South Node in Libra, work? And what do I need to put totally new, totally ingenious, totally unlike my typical choices in life to the table? Something atypical even for me. You can imagine how much self-knowledge and self-trust, North Node in Aries, this requires. And Venus, what, again, what resonates with my value system in a very realistic, down-to-earth Capricornian way, and what doesn't. So I find this very important, along with, well, Saturn still pretty much standing still in the sky. So that's the gravity of the choice. In Pisces, the morality, the belief and belief system behind my choices. And besides Saturn, well, there is Pluto, the power game right now, because Pluto, as soon as it steps into Aquarius, sorry, it will hold an opposition in a more direct way with Mars. Not exact yet, only as when Mars will go retrograde on the 6th of December. On the 6th of December, when it will start its retrograde, and it will take a few days for the opposition to perfect. But it is still very much kind of operational, so we feel the pressure. Either the clock is running out, or the pressure, or I can't take it anymore, or it frustrates me so much that my system, my nervous system for Aquarius, is overloaded, short-fused. So not an easy energy, an energy of deep frustration. However, on the other side of the spectrum, because every single energy, as we well know, can express itself in so many different ways on a large scale of spectrum. The more positive is my faith of the heart, Leo, or my courage, my determination, my soul fire gets me there. It gives me what I need to do it, make a decision, endure it, surrender, whatever the situation, whatever Mars has to do, and it has to do retrograde, right? It's before it's retrograde, so just like in Mercury's case, the themes are getting highlighted. In Leo, it's the heart, courage, willpower, determination, how much passion, soul fire, heart fire burns in my being for this and that. How do I change the situation so I'm happier, better, in more comfort, in more worth, more sun in my life? Leo, the throne of the sun, the leader himself, right? The king of the sky himself. But children, anything to, sometimes Mars and Leo, not really my problem, but I have to do this and that for my child. And you can imagine if you're a parent and a child, many times in this situation, as a parent, the impossible must not exist for you. Child wants it, needs it, it's important. You must make it possible, whatever that means. You know what I mean? So that energy, especially if you're a parent, it's not gonna be any less intense than if you're in another situation. But ultimately, this energy also affects youth in themselves, challenges for youth. And we see the youth getting involved in protests more and more, and having a word to say of what the politicians are allowed and not, but symbolically, because everyone knows it's really a one-sided relationship with the leaders, rulers, but not for long. Remember Pluto. Okay, not right now. It's not gonna dish out miracles to the table right now, but it has 20 years to work on it, right? So anyway, Mars in itself sets these themes. The youth, well, the youth need to actually feel the pressure that they really need to overperform now. Big courage, big initiation, big. The dark side of this energy can, of course, be total self-centeredness and an ego storm, to the likes of which narcissists are little children. Yes, the hyper ego will show itself in some context. And Leo, of course, we know kings, royalty leaders. Yes, but again, that's one of the themes of the Mars retrograde that is not still ongoing yet, but Mars retrograde starts on the 6th of December. So it's setting up the themes just like Mercury is doing. Now, also at the beginning of the week, Mars still opposing Uranus, surprise energy, a continuation of the full moon energy. Then if you move on the 19th, Pluto, as we see, is already in Aquarius. And the Sun in Scorpio holds a trine with Neptune. Now, we know that because of Saturn and Pluto and the Mercury and Mars as well, setting their themes for the retrogrades is not an easy energy. But the Sun trine Neptune is truly a saving grace. This is a big release energy. Tears or saying, or why saying? Well, Mercury retrograde, right? It's going to be speech that stirs up Scorpio and Pisces, trying big family, past, emotion, deep trauma, all of that. So you can imagine how release is going to be a big part of the game. Release, forgiveness, a bit of magic, a bit of alchemy, the power of love, how it gives courage to release, to understand, to integrate. But this can also represent tears of, as I said, release, forgiveness. When you just let the raw emotion storm out, short and sweet moment, but that can make such a big difference. When the emotion comes out, when you confront your truest feelings. All of this is part of the Sun-Neptune trine. Now, I know that usually a trine, we all only have to say good things about it, right? But in this day and age, you know, if a trine is a flowy, empowering, an easiness type of aspect and energy, well, it also empowers, it's indiscriminate. Scorpio is the dark, the manipulation, the puppet masters, the secrets, the sorry, the criminal, because it is. So the criminality is going to be empowered as well. But fortunately, Saturn standing still, right? Criminality would be wise not to use the trine's opportunities, because it's in big judgment type of energy with Saturn, right? In the stationary position. However, the delusional aspect, the illusion, the too good to be true, the projection of the deepest desires energy, the Fata Morgana, right, is also there. So be very careful with cons. Mercury in shadow. Cons, phishing, the email, the text message, the impersonator, the AI, all of that, be careful because we're heading into a dangerous winter exactly in the deception and phishing and conning and manipulation sense. On the 21st, we can observe something rather interesting. There is a yod formation held by Venus and Saturn together, pointing, so two quincunxes, to the moon and Leo. So that means something fated is gonna stir. Something puzzles our heart. How do we feel about something? So this energy is good. So this 21st is gonna be quite unusual, weird, puzzling, enigmatic, mysterious. But there is much more happening because there is also a trine between Mars and the North Node. North Node being in Mars's home sign of Aries. Really, really good energy. Finding the strength to be our own Aries, self-centered or self-oriented. And this is where it's a must because this is the North Node, right? Being our own allies, our own supporters, finally figuring out how to not get in our own way, finally choosing our own truth, feelings, the sovereignty of our own being over the South Node and Libra, the influence, opinion, whatever of others. So becoming our own benefactor in a very serious way. And at the very end of the week, this will turn into a grand trine, grand fire trine, because the sun will move a bit more into the sign of Sagittarius. And that's wonderful. Because the sun in Sagittarius, our worldview, our beliefs, our sense of justice, even divine justice or whatever, morality, philosophy, empowers this, fuels this. We believe it passionately. So there's a big, big, big passion triangle in the sky. A passion grand trine. And literally, sun, passionate in itself. Mars, the deliverer of passion. North Node, okay, it's a lunar node. It's just our emotional tendency energy, but it's in the sign of the head. When when passion is pumped into the head, it goes where it needs to go. So the passion grand trine. Okay, this may also be part of pretty dramatic situations. Imagine on the world stage with all the wars and the conflicts, the hero. This is exactly the hero configuration. There will be heroes shining out there in the world. This is going to be an opening for heroes. But before we get to the heroes, still on the 21st, the sun enters into the sign of Sagittarius. So very happy birthday period for Sagittarian natives. So it activates Sagittarius very strongly. Of course, it will not have the easiest transit in Sagittarius. it will start squaring Saturn, Sun square Saturn, that type of reality check. So even though the Sun in Sagittarius is the most hopeful, optimistic, dreamy, high kind of energy, however, let's not get way too high, because very soon we will get the Saturnian reality check, the low. So this isn't a classic Sun in Sagittarius transit, but remember the trines. Courage, determination, we don't even want it easy. We want the truth, the naked truth, the cold hard truth. We want it. We prefer it. We don't want any illusions anymore. So that's also very much part of Mercury opposing Jupiter. However, let's take it in a, how should I even, tempered measure, because we don't want to be, how should I say, deluged by reality checks that are not very constructive whatsoever. Remember, it needs to be highly constructive and for us to be our own best friends. So the reality, we must make sure that the reality check is not bitter and toxic. Pisces, Saturn and Pisces, acid, Sun squaring this. But it's not part of this week, so we don't need to speak about it all that much in great detail. But I'm just preparing that it's not going to be a very easy transit. And then the Sun will oppose Jupiter in Gemini. So it's mutable. It's going to be a mutable T-square ultimately. But before that comes into play, the Sun sextiles as soon as it enters Sagittarius Pluto, freshly himself entered Aquarius. This is another saving grace. Mind over matter. Intelligence can solve any problem. There must be a way, a methodology, a modus operandi, a wisdom, a something to get where we want or to solve a situation. Mercury retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius, not yet. Okay, not yet, not this week. But this Mercury also builds on that. Let's find the solution. Let's find what to believe. Sagittarius. If a rigid Sun square Saturn belief system limits us, sorry, you have to go. You were a beautiful part of my whole life, my religion maybe, but now you're my sorry, you have to go. I don't need structure that much. I'm free. Mind over matter. The awakening that we don't need the chains anymore. Even religion ultimately is, okay, Sagittarian expression. Okay, Pisces as well a bit. But if its effect, right, is Capricornian in a rigid and grossly Saturnian way, it has to go in its current version, because Pluto finishing a job as Capricorn. If you're a cage and a chain, chill out. Transform into something worthy of Aquarius. This will not happen overnight and this week, but this is where the energy is going. Definitely. And this Mercury retrograde will be a massive symbolic initiative legally in this sense. What will be initiated, even if just a laughable attempt or a ridiculous something to abolish religious dogmatism, or there will be something where the players are the state, religion, and something not so nice that needs to be changed. This will play out in some way. And yes, so Sun sextile Pluto a big psi, mind slash psi slash strong belief over matter and anything. So that's a big, big energy. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just check. Pluto trines immediately Sedna in Gemini. Sedna retrograde. So Sedna moving out of Gemini back into, I do believe, very, very briefly into 29 degrees. I'm not 1,000,000% sure. So, but anyway, this trine is important because Sedna is exactly sacrifice. Sedna is the injustice done to me. Sedna is a very extreme outer trans-Neptunian object, I wanted to say. Her symbolism is very extreme, radical, totally different than Aries, remember, the rebel, the freedom fighter almost, but still with the same radicalism as her. Sedna herself goes against injustice, but she goes in a dark, indirect, deep way. This is where Sedna's darkest expression is a grudge that nothing can put right. Total unforgiveness, never ever forgiving. But you might say, well, Zen, this is a trine, right? Right, because a trine can highlight by blessing it where the unforgivable grudge lies, so the rest of the world can do something about it. It shows the truth, right? It makes that which doesn't want to shift, that which doesn't want to forgive, that which doesn't want change, be very, very visible, that obvious. Of course, the positive side of this is massive change and understanding, air trine, integration of the lesson. So much so that it quantum leaps us into a future immediately. Immediate change, basically. Change that would take, I don't know, let me exaggerate a bit, 100 years in a day. There and then. Why? Because the change immediately took place in our collective minds and collective judgment, in the sense that we processed something, we gave a verdict to something. For example, what we collectively feel about a certain issue. So big, big, big moves are happening this week. And all of this energy is preparing itself for the upcoming retrogrades that are going to be highly transformative. Mars, without a doubt, especially after it goes back into Cancer. Land, territory, borders, where I belong, ethnicity, nationality, all of the most sensitive topics that are on fire right now. And then Mercury, not just international law and our own law and justice in our own lives and all of the but Sagittarius is a sign that connects us directly, understand it as per sign, per energy, or actually per function, body function, if not. It is our antenna to the divine. It is our communication force with the divine, with the source, with the cosmos, with the stars. So the world of science and the academic world will also have a big Mercury retrograde period of it. And Mercury retrograde, okay, but the ruler of Sag, Jupiter, is also retrograde himself in Mercury's own sign. So it's very impactful, very, very impactful, both in a Gemini expression and also in a Sag expression. So, sorry. This is what we are being prepared to face. And as I said, this week has a lot of power to it. Even if it's heavily karmic and, the pressure cooker and the clock ticking and set, yes, but the trine. Let's just show, before I finish and I say my thank yous, let's just go to that fire trine, which will extend to next week as well, of course. So it's not, but what I want to say that this week we already feel it. It's already on the sun here, North Node here, Mars here. So that's an operational grand fire trine. It's almost like, astrologically speaking, a visage of hope, a visage of, this is where the power will lie, a visage of, this is where the juice is. This is the steam engine that will get me there, and it will. So, strong empowerment is also in the sky. And remember, Sun in Sagittarius, truly the stars, the promise of the stars, and the eternal loving guidance of the divine, the cosmic mind's innate benevolence. Because unlike our human minds in this day and age, the cosmic mind is highly benevolent. Its primary purpose is not to dissect and manage and control. No, that's us. That's our human mind is like that. The divine mind's primary purpose is to find solutions, find a way to make it good for everyone if possible. We live in an imperfect world. Of course, it's not possible perfectly, but that's what animates Jupiter in Sagittarius, to give a mental and soul structure to everything. A structure that Saturn will follow and make real, manifest, right? So these two play together, work together. And this week also prepares us for their upcoming square, to become exact, later on in December. So, yeah. I hope that this was useful and helpful. Thank you again so much, everyone, for your good wishes and for the help. And until next time, bye for now.